I want to welcome you to the Ask Jeff YouTube channel. Here's today's question. Is it a sin to drink? Now, I'm presuming that we're not talking about Diet Coke or water. We're talking about alcoholic beverages. Well, that's a really interesting question that you would think would be pretty clear cut. And I want to address this from multiple angles. And one of the things that I say all the time is that when we do Ask Jeff, that our desire is to be biblical, not just Baptist or whatever denomination you may have an affinity for. So when we look at the biblical record, we may be surprised what it says about consumption of alcoholic beverages. I'm going to start with myself. It speaks about in the pastoral epistles in 2 Timothy that a bishop or a pastor is not to consume alcohol. Now, that may seem overly strict to some of you, and rightfully so for others, but the biblical record just says none. The same chapter for deacons says not much, as if there could be a little bit. And then in Ephesians chapter 5, it says that those who are believers in Jesus Christ should just not get drunk. What's interesting there is the Bible speaks about the fact that there are actually 3 layers when it comes to alcoholic consumption. There is no drunkenness excused for anybody, not a whole lot for deacons, and none for pastors. Now, again, we live in a culture today that doesn't see those distinctions, even though there's biblical. That's why it brings up in the second layer. 1 Corinthians chapter 8 talks about eating food offered unto idols. And even though it's not sinful to do so, it is a sin if you cause your brother to stumble. And so when it comes to the, quote, alcohol issue, there are so many people who want to go in to the details of Scripture and say, see, I told you it's okay for me to drink, which you may be rightfully so. But it's not just about you. See, in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, it says that all things are lawful for me, but not all things are expedient. In other words, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Now, I believe there is scriptural basis that as a believer in Jesus Christ, there is no, quote, sin for drinking alcohol, presuming you're not a pastor. But the sin may not be in the consumption. The sin may be in the testimony that you give toward another person. There are multiple layers to this question, and it doesn't just stop at the proverbial bottle. Great question. If you have one, send it to AskJeff.net. Maybe your question will be tomorrow. Thanks for being a part of today's daily question. Now, we answer a question each and every day. Please feel free to submit a new question at AskJeff.net. We may not have gotten to yours today, but we eventually will continue to be a part of this. Subscribe so you don't miss out on a question every day.